Donald Trump's brain has turned to mush, and there is even less stability and coherence in his trade plan because the tariff flip-flopping has continued, this time in a disaster press conference in which when Donald Trump was pressed on his tariff plan, he just crumbled because he doesn't have a plan. There is no coherence. There is no end goal. It is just this declining narcissist throwing angry words at problems he doesn't understand. And it was very clear when he melted down. We're going to cover it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into Donald Trump being pressed on tariffs, I want to start where this disaster press conference started, with Donald Trump attacking the courts.
Their prisons into the United States, and we're getting them out, and I hope we get cooperation from the courts because, you know, we have thousands of people that are ready to go out, and you can't have a trial for all of these people. It wasn't meant, the system wasn't meant, and we don't think there's anything that says that, look, we are getting some very bad people, killers, murderers, drug dealers, really bad people, the mentally ill, the mentally insane. They emptied out insane asylums into our country. We're getting them out, and a judge can't say, no, you have to have a trial. The trial's going to take 2 years, and no, we're going to have a very dangerous country if we're not allowed to do what we're entitled to do.
Donald Trump is now saying he wants the courts to cooperate with him. You're supposed to cooperate with the courts. This is a guy who claims to love the Constitution, but clearly hasn't read it. This is idiotic. And the final statement that a judge can't say you need a trial, yes, that's exactly what they can say. Donald Trump clearly doesn't understand this relationship, probably because he doesn't care to understand checks and balances. He doesn't want them to exist anymore. And this is why we need Democrats to be calling out this attack on due process, even if they think talking about immigration might be a bad issue for them. Who cares? This is a constitutional crisis. It's not time for focus groups and message testing. Get out there and call it out. And at the same time, call out the way that Donald Trump's chaos has caused the economy to collapse, even though Donald Trump clearly doesn't see it that way.
But if you remember my first week, I was standing here, Paul, and they were screaming about eggs. The cost of eggs have gone through the roof. They were up like 500%, crazy, like 4 or 5 times. And we won't have eggs for Easter, they were saying. There will be no eggs. You can't order eggs. They wanted us to order plastic in the shape of eggs. Well, yesterday we had 48,000 people at the Easter hunt. They call it the Easter roll at the White House. And we had all eggs. And as you know, the cost of eggs has come down like 93, 94% since we took office. And they're pretty much normally priced now. Great job. Our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, did a very good job. But groceries have come down. It's all coming down. The only thing that hasn't come down, but it hasn't gone up much, are interest rates. And we think the Fed should lower the rate. We think that it's a perfect time to lower the rate. And would like to see our chairman be early or on time as opposed to late. Late.
I would first like to point out this dumb argument that MAGA will make. Egg prices exploded and they've come down a little bit, but just because the price of eggs starts at $3.50, then goes to $10, then comes down to $8, that doesn't mean you lowered the price of eggs. It means you've gotten the price of eggs closer to where they were under Joe Biden. You didn't do anything good. It's like they want to screw things up so they can fix it a little bit, so they can point to the win because they know they can't create a win otherwise, in the same way that Donald Trump can't create a deal, or maybe he doesn't want to. He clearly doesn't understand his own plan. Just listen to him right here.
I'm not, but 100% of all of these documents are being delivered. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you said you're ultimately going to make a deal with China, but where do things stand right now? Have you talked to him?
My relationship with President Xi is great. It's been great for a long time. We've had a very good relationship, and I think we'll make a deal with China.
Mr. President, in your meeting with...
If we don't make a deal, we'll set it. We'll just set the number, and, you know, think they'll want to be a part of the United States. We're doing great. This is the golden age, as Paul said. We're talking about the golden age. There will never be a time like this, in my opinion. And China wants to be a part of that, too.
Are you making deals or not? We still don't actually know what the tariffs are about. No matter what Donald Trump does, MAGA will just say, art of the deal, he's making deals. But he doesn't even know if he wants to make deals. He doesn't even know if he wants to be tough. Listen to what he said when he essentially admitted defeat to China right here.
And our country is getting stronger all the time because the other was not sustainable.
Started with China.
Are you going to play hardball with them? Are you going to mention COVID?
Well, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to mention COVID. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States.
So you're not going to play hardball? You're not going to negotiate? So what are the 145% tariffs for? I don't get it. He doesn't get it. He's just shouting numbers because there is no one around him to say no. And so now we are all paying for the stupidity of the president of the United States. But what do you mean you're not going to play hardball? Isn't that your whole thing, that you pretend to be tough and now you're just caving? Well, actually, yes, he did just cave.
Earlier today, Treasury Secretary Gusson suggested that with the tariff rates as high as they are now, it's effectively an embargo of trade between the United States and China. Do you see that?
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to there. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
What level do you think it'll come down to if you have it?
It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China, have a great relationship with President Xi, but they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made, so that won't happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally work together. So I think it's going to work out very well. But no, it's at 145%. It will not be anywhere near that number.
If you're admitting that the tariffs will come down eventually, what are you negotiating with? It's like he's negotiating against himself. That's why all this art of the deal talk. Can someone point me to a deal he did, and a deal he did that he himself hasn't criticized? Because he's done that a couple of times. He also didn't write the book. Can we talk about that? He didn't write the book. It's not his art. You can't even begin to argue with these people. You can't. They cannot acknowledge or understand the fact that this is incredibly unpopular, and it's the reason that people are turning out in droves, as Rachel Maddow talked about right here.
To it. So I think the protests are really starting to bug them. I don't know if it's the number of protests or the number of people protesting or the fact that the protests really aren't going away and they keep seeming to grow. I don't know if it's the tenor and good humor and peaceful nature of the protest that's bugging them. But I think they are really getting bugged. I think it is really getting under their skin. And here's one way we can tell. Let's say you're the head of a big car company, and then something happens to your car company. And it's not happening to all car companies. It's not happening to the car sector, right? In fact, it's not happening to any other car company at all. It's only happening to your car company, and it's not good. Headline, CNN, Tesla profits plunge. Headline, Washington Post, Tesla earnings plunge. Headline, New York Times, Tesla's 71% drop in profit. Headline, USA Today, Tesla profits fall 71%. Headline, Wall Street Journal, Tesla profit sinks. Headline, Reuters, Tesla sales skid. If you are the head of a company that is having a day like that, how do you spend that day? How do you spend that day that news breaks everywhere? Because, I mean, headlines like that are bad enough, but you look at the details, it's even worse. I mean, Tesla was expected to earn 41 cents per share. They came in at 27 cents per share. That's like not only below market expectations, it's really, really below market expectations. The first quarter of last year, Tesla made $1.4 billion. The first quarter of this year, we learned today, you can drop the billion off of that. They went from $1.4 billion in the first quarter of last year to $0.4 billion this quarter. And even that was less than it appears. Tesla not only had that 71% drop in profit off of what they did last year, the profit they did have is not from selling cars. Quote, Tesla would have actually lost hundreds of millions of dollars this quarter had it not earned $400 million in interest on cash and investments, and had it not earned $595 million from selling credits to other car makers, which themselves failed to meet emissions regulations. So yeah, it looks like they made $0.4 billion. It looks like they made $400 million, but they would have been $600 million in the negative for this quarter. They would have lost $600 million this quarter if they hadn't had cash and investments, interest payments, and credits that were paid to them from other car companies because of anti-climate change government programs. That's what filled up their balance sheet. Just a catastrophe. And to add insult to injury, the CEO's favorite of all his vehicles, at least the one he really, really, really likes to talk about and show off as much as possible, that is turning out to itself be the biggest disaster of all. Quote, the Cybertruck, Tesla's newest vehicle, which consumed a lot of the company's resources while it was being developed, is looking increasingly like a flop. Sales of the Cybertruck in the first quarter were down about 50% from the last quarter of last year. And they weren't all that good in the last quarter of last year. So if you're the guy who's head of this particular car company, today's just a disastrous day, right? And why is this only happening to your company? Can we just put up those same headlines we just saw? Can we just put up those headlines again? Just put up that same list, yeah. I mean, it's not a mystery, right?
Now is the moment to seize on the movement and to talk about the ways that Donald Trump has completely screwed all of us for the benefit of his market manipulation to serve his billionaire buddies. That is a pretty clear and concise consolidation of everything happening in the Trump administration. Corruption, incompetence, and criminality. Let's hammer it home. And all at the same time, your groceries are more expensive. That's our message. Let's get it done. We're certainly going to be doing so on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.